Whatever.
Hello, welcome to the Whatever Show. I'm Alex Drake.
I'm Dragon Pat. And today we're going to be covering the entire Resident Evil movie series. It started in 2002 with the very first Resident Evil, where our soon-to-be favorite character, Alice, came into existence. Alice, starring Mila Jovovich. Either way, whatever her last name is, this is one hot woman.
Yes.
And Alice comes out and she's going to fight the Red Queen, which is an artificial intelligence that runs the Hive.
Yep.
Now we can learn a new enemy, which is the Umbrella Corp. You know, you ever notice how a lot of these, regardless of what their names is, the minute they put the word corp on the end of it, we know they're bad guys.
Yeah.
Because, let's face it, corporations are generally not nice. I mean, Umbrella Corp versus the evil corporation in Ready Player One.
IOI.
IOI. I'd say Umbrella Corp is meaner.
Yeah. They made freaking zombies.
They went out to kill the world.
And they intentionally did it.
Yep. But, okay, the first one, we see what is possibly an accidental leak. Well, no, actually, we know it was done intentionally to hide a theft. And we have Alice, who is head of security, who's had her mind wiped a little bit. And as the show progresses, she gets her memory back and sees things. But you gotta fight the bad guys. And obviously, in the Resident Evil universe, nobody ever told them the rules of Zombieland.
Yeah.
Because they don't do double taps in the head. You can shoot a zombie in the body all day long. It's still going to keep coming.
You gotta shoot it in the head or break its neck.
Now, and
That ain't done.
even in Resident Evil, we learned that the way to kill zombies is take their heads off. Do these people get this message?
Apparently,
no.
Not even Alice remembers it. Like, here, let me just repeatedly shoot the body of something.
You sit there, I mean, they come out there with their MP4s and MP5s and they... You ain't hitting them in the head, you ain't doing any damage. They're still going to get up. But as a potential zombie movie, and that's what this is, Resident Evil was unique. I liked it.
I like their Hellhound.
As you're calling them. It's just basically a Doberman Pinscher that's been turned into a zombie.
Oh, the other guy.
The later version of the dogs. Now, this is where he has a problem. He wants to bring up stuff in the last episode.
It was the first one. That creature that ended up turning after it eats.
That wasn't a hellhound. That was just a super zombie. See, he's trying to call something a dog that wasn't even a dog.
It looked like a hellhound.
It's just ugly.
That too was ugly.
Well, after Resident Evil, they capture Alice. She's been put into a hospital. And then we start Resident Evil 2. Now, Raccoon City, which is the fictional city where all this took place near, Alice wakes up in the hospital. And she's wearing basically 2 sheets. Well, no, 2 little towels. And we're not talking bath towels, we're talking hand towels. Yes, I know, this was one of the most... People hit their rewind and slow play very often during this part, which was kind of silly because later on you get to see everything anyway. But Resident Evil, they fight their way out of Raccoon City. You get introduced to the next main character, which is the cop. And let's see if we can find out that cop's name.
Jill.
Oh, Jill Valentine. she didn't look like. She looked different in this one because she had her hair dyed. In this one, Jill Valentine played by Serena Gallery. Well, in the movie, she's got her hair close cropped and it's black, and she's just hot.
Mm-hmm.
You also get Oded Fehr, who comes in, and he's in several of the shows after that. And Jill comes back later, in a later episode. But you still got Mila Jovovich. Now, the interesting thing is in number one, she's basically running around in a sexy dress and a pair of shorts. And number two, she puts on a very sexy pair of shorts and a tank top and body armor. And again, running around in probably as little as possible.
Mm-hmm.
They fight their way out of Raccoon City in number two.
Mm-hmm.
That was called Resident Evil Apocalypse, which was number two, and that came out in 2004. 2007, we get Extinction. Again, we're introduced to a new person. We're introduced to Claire Redfield. And we're also introduced to Kmart. Kmart is played by Spencer Locke, and Spencer Locke is hot. So again, we have the hot chicks survive the apocalypse. Now, I was thinking about this the other night, why it is that only hot chicks make it. And I realized it's because if you're going to die for somebody,
it'd be the hot chick.
it's the hot chick.
Mm-hmm.
Ugly chicks
They die too quick.
are going to die.
Yeah.
Now, Ashanti made a show up in this one. She played a nurse who got eaten.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Dr. Isaacs, who is the true super bad guy from this show.
Oh, yeah.
He is evil.
And all up in the head.
Resident Evil 3, they're basically living in the aftermath of a world gone to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Zombies are everywhere, and all they know how to do is eat.
And
So she goes through, and at first our hero is avoiding humanity. Then she joins up with humanity, and then she has to help them when they figure out they're going to escape using a helicopter, blah, 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 blah.
mm-hmm.
And they go in and they take on they break into the compound, at which point Kmart and Claire and a couple others get on the helicopter and they supposedly fly off to Alaska. Meanwhile, Alice goes and takes on Dr. Isaacs, who has now been mutated into the boss character. And if you notice a trend here, every one of these movies, there's a boss level fight at the end.
Yes.
Why? Because this is all based off of a video game.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a pretty decent, wicked video game. And she fights this Isaacs, and when she's done, she looks around and sees an entire room, multiple rooms, filled with her clones. At which point she tells the chairman of the board of Umbrella Corporation, I'm coming.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bring some friends.
Yeah.
And does she? Oh, yeah. She comes out. You've got her playing herself. I mean, she's got an army of clones, and they attack Umbrella Corporation's headquarters.
Yeah.
Now,
really.
That's the very, very, very beginning part of Resident Evil Afterlife. And after she finishes taking on the Umbrella Corporation's headquarters, she goes and tries to meet up with the rest of her friends up in Alaska. Well, they've been missing.
Mm-hmm.
They're missing. The only one that's there is Claire, and she's been programmed by some device on her chest. So she knocks Claire out, takes the device off her chest, and they fly south, and we get to see another small group of humanity that they're going to jump to and try to save.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Claire has returned, but you also get Wentworth Miller, who is Claire's brother. Now, Wentworth, if you don't know him,
He's Captain Cold.
Captain Cold from The Flash.
Mm-hmm.
And
even in this show, he gave a lot of cold shoulder.
He's a cold dude. But he did that in the movie that he was in the Prison Break, too.
Yeah.
Which that was a good one. Mm-hmm. And we have Kmart coming back, and although she doesn't have a great part in it, she doesn't do a whole lot, she's still hot.
Yeah.
And this one ends with them seizing a boat. They've captured the boat. They beat up the one bad guy, which is
head of Umbrella Corp,
who has been partially zombified and made clones of, and on and on and on and on. And we get to see this jerk several times.
Yeah.
But one thing I liked about this one is this jerk, Kim Coates, gets whacked good.
Yeah.
That's a human who thought the world should basically bend over and kiss his backside.
Mm-hmm. Ex-producer.
Because he was a producer. All right, so we go from that one where at the end of this one, all the bad guys have showed up again.
Mm-hmm.
We have
this time
something
with
like
numbers.
a couple hundred planes worth of them are attacking the boat, and Alice is blown into the water, and they capture her again.
They really aren't smart. They keep capturing her.
Yep. So then we have Alice waking up in Resident Evil Retribution. In Retribution, we bring back Jill. Now, Jill has been programmed. She's got a device on her chest. She's not very nice.
Yeah.
We have Alice, we have Jill, and we get introduced to Ada Wong, one really hot chick.
Yeah.
Now, this also brings back Rain from the first one, Michelle Rodriguez, who many of you will recognize from
Fast and Furious as Toretto's girlfriend.
So, and we once again have the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, after being brought to their headquarters, Alice fights her way out from an underwater submarine pen.
Mm-hmm. In Russia.
Fights Jill at the end for the boss fight. Barely wins.
Mm-hmm.
And
as the dickhead guy, I forget his name. He was actually helping him this time.
Now, Albert's a bad guy who's pretending to be good for this one. And he calls them in to Washington, D.C. to help them save humanity because they're going to go extinct. Well, as General Akbar likes to say, it's a trap.
It's a trap.
And that brings us to the final.
Which is called the final chapter.
And in the final chapter, we get... Well, we have Claire. We have Alice. We got a bunch of people we don't know, and we have...
Dr. Dickhead.
The doctor's back, and so is Albert. This time we have the original... Well, we not only have the original Albert, we've got a couple spares.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's just been cloning the shit out of himself. And we find out that the entire concept of letting the virus go was done on purpose.
Uh-huh. And that Alice is actually a clone.
Of the Red Queen's host. Who was the Red Queen? The Red Queen was the original doctor, which is not shown here.
Yeah. They just call him as Doc.
His daughter.
Yeah.
Which is what the T-virus is originally designed to help. Mm-hmm. Now, the Red Queen is played by Eva Gabo Henderson, and she's a cute little kid playing an amazing job as
a psycho.
At times. In this one, she was not a psycho. I'm looking for the father. I don't know. They used several for him. Is that him? I know that in number 2 he's present from the Raccoon City one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, he's in a wheelchair.
Just so we could, because he plays the guy in a wheelchair. There he is.
Dr.
Ashford is played by Jared Harris. His daughter was sick. She's had a disease. So he invents this super virus, which originally was designed to help his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And it does for a while.
And then...
And doesn't bond right with her. Meanwhile, it's not a nice virus.
Oh.
It turns people into zombies.
Mm-hmm.
Turns basically everybody but Alice into a zombie.
Yep.
The question is just how long is it going to take?
Mm-hmm.
With some people, like the bad guy.
Oh, it takes quick.
Well, no, the bad guy was actually able to be a human-looking person for a long time.
True.
It's just that he was losing the battle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he has multiple clones.
Good thing.
Now the Red Queen, the character that she's based off, the daughter is actually alive. She's partial owner of the Umbrella Corp. But because of that, the Red Queen is forbidden from attacking and hurting any member of Umbrella Corp. And meanwhile, Alice is trying to release the antivirus. So we have a very interesting, very twisted plot as it works its way through until finally Alice fights it out. They release the antidote. We get to see the bad guys basically kill themselves, especially Dr. What's his name?
Alexandros.
No, that's not his last name. That's the first name. Isaacs. Dr. Isaacs' mini clones are like the rest of us and can't stand him. And they can't stand each other, so they fight each other. So this was a good way to end the series, and it was really well done. Now, one thing about Resident Evil, it's your zombie movie. If you don't like zombie movies, you're not going to like it. Number 2, Resident Evil has hot chicks.
A lot of them.
In the last one, you have Cobalt. Hot. You have Abigail. Another hot one. You've got Allie Larthor, who played Claire. She's back. Hot as usual. And, of course, you've got Alice. Because let's face it, she was not hired for anything but the fact she's hot and limber. This series. This was a good series. I enjoyed this series.
Yeah. My favorite boss fight was in 2 with the big...
Oh, the one where her buddy was one of the villains.
Which I totally forgot what they renamed him.
I don't know. Let's go. Let's see. In 1, she met up with a guy who was to become... That's him there. Anderson. Okay, and go back to number 1. One of the guys that are Matt Anderson, is played by Eric Mobius. Mobius. Now, in number 2, he's turned into a villain. Well, they try to turn him into a villain. They turn him into... We're trying to find the name of the... it's not showing us. Either way, where Alice is one direction, he's the other. And they put him in a fight, and guess what? And he's actually beating Alice.
Yeah.
Then Alice throws him into a spike, and he's going to die. And when Alice wouldn't kill him, the bad guy turns around and says, "Fine, kill her." But Matt remembers humanity and refuses to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I'm sorry, Matt was a beast.
he was a big monster.
Mm-hmm. He was holding a minigun on one arm with a rocket on the other. It's like, dude. Oh, that's.
And you know, the bad part about it, Jill,
Mm-hmm.
played by Serena, Sienna Gallery, whatever her name is. Yeah, I'm sorry. She was a lot hotter with the short black hair.
Yeah.
The long brownish. I mean, she's okay, but it really doesn't make her look as hot.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, yes, we here at whatever do have a tendency to watch shows based on the hot chicks in it. That is not our guiding principle.
No.
It doesn't have to have a hot chick in it. It's just number one. Hollywood always will have at least one.
Yeah, come on. How else would you get the guy's attention?
That's it.
Especially with rom-coms. Otherwise, there'd be very few.
Yeah. Let's face it. I'm going to talk about how shallow and superficial men are. Women are worse. You don't see the geeks up here winning.
Nope.
I mean, the geek rarely wins the girl. You know it, and I know it. Because none of these characters is going to go out of their way to save the geek.
Nope.
Which, when we review Chuck, that's going to be a unique example of the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Chuck, they actually get to meet and talk with the geek a little bit longer, or as he insists on being called a nerd.
He's bald.
He's a nerd, though. He's got book smarts, too.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe one of these days we'll do an episode on the difference between a geek and a nerd. Now, many of us use both terms to apply to ourselves, but some people don't know what they really are. Maybe we'll help you figure it out. The general rule of thumb is a nerd has book smarts along with technical smarts, and a geek, technical smarts. Now, if they have any book knowledge, it's about technology. Both groups are into different subjects, including, RPGs, MMORPGs, video games, role-playing games, and so on. And most of them are very heavy into fandom. You cannot tell a geek or a nerd apart based on what they like. Not when it comes to TV shows and movies. So, but having said this, Resident Evil, I liked it.
So did I.
I liked the way they kept twisting shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Mila is just.
Yeah.
She's just wicked. She was also in one of the shows we watched in December. Let me go over here
She's
to.
multi-pass.
Yes, she was. She's our favorite girl from Multipass.
Realize if you don't know what that is, that's called Fifth Element.
It was Mila, protected only by tape.
Yeah, she was in Hellboy too.
Oh, of course. Where's I think I want this one.
Right there.
There you go. She was in Artemis. She was Artemis in Monster Hunter. Now, we haven't reviewed Monster Hunter for you guys yet, but we will. We've seen it. I have a copy of it, and it's definitely a setup for another show. And it, in a lot of ways, has a relationship to Resident Evil in that she's battling monsters.
Yeah.
And she's hot.
Yeah.
Can't beat it. So this has been our show on the Resident Evil. If you haven't seen them, go see them. Download them. Check them out on your favorite streaming service. Buy the DVDs. They're probably cheap.
Don't forget to like, subscribe,
Come on, folks.
Hit
You
the
know
bell.
how to keep these things going. You know what you should have been doing.
Mhm.
Subscribe. Now, we are starting to update and put postings on to BitChute as he uploads them. Hey, we're working on it. There's a lot of work to do. And, hey, this isn't our full-time job yet. Now, if you guys want to chip in a little bit of the dinero, or you have a company and you want to sponsor us, it'll make
Please.
things a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
But give us a shout, help us out, and very soon we're going to be giving you methods that you could directly send money to us to help support us. Granted sponsorship, we'll get you an email address to where you can reach us. Hey, we've already covered